Welcome to the League Two weekend recap. How's your March going? Not as well as Colchester United's. 5 wins in a row in March. The big story of the League Two weekend. Their 3-0 win at home to Fleetwood. Moving into the top 7. George, Colchester against Fleetwood was Maxwell pre-season stance versus Elek pre-season stance. And we are stancing all the way into the playoffs, me and Cole, you.
Yeah, fair play. You done me here. Colchester have lost 1 game in the league since the 26th of October. 2 games in the league since the 26th of October, both coming early in January. It is a really, really impressive run of wins, performances. I think, this will look on paper like a relatively routine home win against a mid-table side, but I'm not having it, as I still continue to say Fleetwood are a pretty good team. They're playing pretty well under Pete Wild. They, for the most part, Colchester games are relatively low margin, few chances. This wasn't really that. This was pretty end-to-end. Fleetwood unable to make their superiority, I would even call it, count in the first half. Mackenzie Hunt had a really good opportunity from across, which he wasn't able to score from. Matty Virtue had a good chance as well. Colchester had to kind of dig in and stay in the game, and they did that. And then in the second half, it was relatively one-way traffic. Lyle Taylor and Ulrich Edwards both Taylor by thanks to a deflection, Edwards with a shot that maybe the Fleetwood keeper Will Philly should have done better with, and the goal of the game came from Jack Payne with a brilliant long-range strike, as we know he can do. Feels like a really significant win this for Cole U. 5 wins in a row, the informed team in the league, a league where not many teams at the moment towards the top end are playing particularly well. They are a huge player in terms of the promotion race in League Two, and look to me to be a side that are, they're the real deal. Is this the curse?
Some nice bursts forward from Egbo right back as well, who both as a player but also as a tweeter is someone that I really love, George, because these days, right, that platform has fallen off a cliff. We all know it. It's not as fun as it used to be, and there's lots of reasons for that. And players, they don't put much time into Twitter these days, and when they do, there's not a huge amount of personality, and I understand why. But Egbo, he's still tweeting like it's 2012, and I love it. Here's a couple for you. This was on Saturday morning. Super excited, but laser focused. Might treat myself to a Fanta fruit twist.
Lovely.
Delicious drink. Can absolutely see why I'd be thinking that. My favourite of his came back in November, where he tweeted, "Total transparency. On my way to training this morning, I fell off my bike. A really, really low point in my life."
Amazing.
I can connect with him, on a level that there aren't that many players online that I can connect with like I can with Mandela Egbo. Fair play to him. Look, Colchester, we're not done on this, right? Having won 2 of their first 15 league games this season, they've now lost only 2 of their last 24. 13 goals conceded in 24 games. 14 clean sheets in that time. They have flown up the table into the playoff places. It's got to be time, George, to hit that FOTMOB corner button and look at Colchester United. What is behind this? And I'm tempted just to say Danny and Nicky Cowley, because I truly believe that it's their quality and their personality that is the sort of north, south, east and west of this Colchester renaissance. I think they are excellent, and I felt that Colchester had pulled off a huge coup to appoint them. That's being proven. But on the pitch, what sort of team are we talking about? It starts with the defensive platform. They have won their last 5 games, and 4 of them have been to 0, with just Port Vale being able to score against them. They have a trio of stats that we can see on FOTMOB that are going to underpin a strong defence. XG conceded, only 3 teams have a better XG conceded number. Clean sheets, only Wimbledon have a better, more clean sheets this season. Goals conceded per match, only Wimbledon and Bradford City are better than Colchester United. When we open it up to what we like to talk about on the pod as 0s and 1s, those are games where you add in the games where you concede just 1 goal as well as clean sheets, understanding that there's 2 teams in every game, and even you could be an exceptional defence and still concede. But the key being that if you only keep it down to 1, you've still got a very good chance of not losing, of getting a point or all 3. 30 0s and 1s in their 37 league games. Only Wimbledon and Bradford have a better record on that. but it's not a really defensive approach, if that makes sense. It's quite a front-footed one. If you look at possession won in the final third per match in League Two, there they are with the third best number with just Wimbledon and Walsall. These are teams that are both very good at defending their own box, but also very front-footed and do so much at the top of the pitch to make sure that the opposition don't make many final third entries. In attack, they're not quite as good as they are defensively relative to the level. They are very good on the counter-attack, especially when Samson Tavide is fit, but Edwards as well off the left, as we saw here in this game, really good 1v1 ball carrier, carries them up the pitch. And their 9 counter-attack goals are the most in League Two this season. 33 open play goals in total. Only 7 teams have scored more, so they do create and score from open play. Not great from set plays, actually. Only 3 teams have scored fewer than them, but no one's conceded fewer from set-piece situations. So very strong defensively from set pieces, which is no real surprise given Cowley's reputation for attention to detail. Just going to touch on a couple of players now. Jack Payne. I love Jack Payne, one of my favourite League Two players. He has the 6th highest FOTMOB rating in the whole league, and that reflects just a quality operator all round who's putting up fantastic numbers in totality this season. He's just got a bit of everything in an attacking midfield role. A goal threat, yeah, compared to most attacking midfielders in League Two. He's well above average for goal threat, both XG, shots on target. His finishing is good. We saw him score a fantastic strike from outside the box where he's the threat. Creatively, he's exceptional. Now, these numbers are somewhat boosted by taking set pieces, but even so, right up there in the league for assists and expected assists, chances created, successful crosses. Payne on the ball, if you give him any time, he can basically put the ball wherever he wants, and that's very, very dangerous. But out of possession as well, maybe something that he doesn't get quite so much credit for. He's pretty tenacious. He's not the biggest, and he doesn't cover ground that well, and he can probably dribble past him 1v1 fairly easily, but he chucks himself around the pitch, he gets involved in duels, and actually his dual win percentage is pretty impressive for a player that isn't known for this side of the game. So we like Jack Payne a lot. Who else do we like? We like Jamie McDonnell. He is on loan from Nottingham Forest, and he is an insane ball winner. His defensive numbers are absolutely ridiculous for tackles won, duels won, aerial duels won. He's basically just a Pac-Man, just running around the Colchester midfield, just gobbling up the ball and moving it on. As a passer on the ball, this is his weakness, and means that if he wants to play a lot higher, and if he gets a loan at League One and above in the future, he's probably going to have to improve on the ball and offer a little bit more. He's not much more than just a recycler on the ball, but that's fine for this Colchester team. And then in goal, Matt Macey deserves a shout because, any good defence is like supercharged by someone in goal that is shot stopping at a really impressive rate. And Macey absolutely is ranked against League Two goalkeepers. Goals conceded, one of the best rates. Save percentage, one of the best rates. Goals prevented rate, one of the best rates. And you can see his high claim stat as well is one of the best in the league. So he's really front-footed when it comes to coming and collecting crosses, which is crucial for relieving pressure. And his pass accuracy is pretty good as well. Colchester, a bit more possession-based than people might expect. And Macey very much helps that. He's perfectly capable on the ball. So with Col U, the one thing that you said is that they will have an impact on the top of the league. And that's true both for the question as to whether they will make the top 7 or even the top 3, which they're only 5 points off with 9 games to go. But also the fact that they still have to play 6 teams in the top 10. So they're going to have an impact on a lot of the other top teams this season. They play Bradford away, they play Doncaster away, they play Salford away, they play Notts, Crewe, Alex and Grimsby all at home. And it's just going to be an incredibly exciting end to the season for Colchester fans, whatever happens from here. I just want to finish off by making a wider point. This was a really difficult job. Last season, Colchester finished 22nd in League Two with 45 points from 46 games. The season before that, they finished 20th in League Two with 49 points from 46 league games. To turn things around has not happened quickly. It reminds me a little bit of Nathan Jones at Charlton. The Cowleys had to put in so much time and effort just to start reversing the direction of travel. And now we're seeing the kind of compound interest, if you like, of all their hard work and the way that they set this team up, because they are absolutely flying. And I'm pleased that Colchester United have been able to get the FOTMOB Corner treatment. FOTMOB's our favourite scores app. We're very grateful that they sponsor this segment of the podcast, and you can download FOTMOB using the link in the show notes. So from one big story to another, George, this one had a big significance at the top and the bottom of the division. Bradford 0, Tranmere 1. A Bradford side that had won 10 home league games in a row, keeping a clean sheet in each of their last 6, hosting a Tranmere side that had lost 10 of their last 11 away, drawing just 1 and scoring just 6 goals. But they leave with a 1-0 win, courtesy of a goal from the spot. Josh Hawkes benefiting from Saunders' really scrappy play to get a penalty out of Shepherd. Bradford squandering chances, probably point to the absence of not just Andy Cook, but also Patterson and Sarcevic and Bobby Poynton, all missing here. And they suddenly lose a little bit of momentum in this automatic promotion race. But down the bottom, Tranmere have taken huge steps to securing their safety since Andy Crosby has come in as interim manager.
Massive. And there's loads I think I'm really impressed with about Tranmere here, because you look at the shot map, as I did going back through the games on Saturday evening, you're like, yeah, they've had 3 shots, one of them's a penalty, and Bradford have battered them and they've won the game 1-0. And that's kind of loosely true. But what I would say is the desire that was shown by Tranmere at times in this game, and I'm going full circle here, but isn't necessarily the kind of thing that flags up in the data and the shot maps. Where there was one occasion where Walker came down the right-hand side for Bradford and he was kind of in. And there were just 5 covering defenders from Tranmere, all absolutely busting a gut to get back, and they dispossessed him and managed to get the ball away. Defending in absolute packs, swarming around him to get it clear. And for so much of this season, that hasn't been the case with Tranmere. And the goal itself, it was interesting. They had to make some changes. I'm assuming the substitution of Kieran Morris after half an hour or so was enforced. But Christian Dennis came off at half-time and was replaced by Harvey Saunders. And again, the goal itself came from Saunders just harrying Baldwin and Shepherd, chasing down lost causes, forcing them to make a tackle they didn't want to make, and winning the penalty. It shows intangibles in the relegation fight.
Incredible celebration for winning a pen.
It reminds me a bit of what we saw from George Lloyd when Ainsworth first came in Shrewsbury, where in this situation, when you're lacking a bit of quality and you're kind of not, you've shown over a period of time that probably you're one of the poorer teams in the league, just having someone who can just cause a bit of carnage in the final third, and it might be a way of getting some kind of a glimmer of hope, and that's what they got. Hawke dispatched the penalty relatively well, and they saw the game out without too much concern. Damaging for Bradford's, they've continued to see Walsall above them stutter, yet Walsall have managed to increase their lead at the top of the table with a 2-2 draw at Bromley on Thursday night. Bradford have missed a huge opportunity not only to draw level with Walsall over the last over their last 2 games, but possibly even go past them. But instead, they're still 3 points back, and they've let the teams beneath them. They've put that gap between the likes themselves and the likes of Doncaster, AFC Wimbledon, and that's also shrunk too. So frustration for Bradford, but it's all those things that are the intangibles that I genuinely think are nonsense. But bit of heart, bit of desire for Tranmere seems to be what got them over the line here.
You think heart and desire is nonsense, George? Well, what a sad state of affairs.
I just think that sometimes, and maybe that's what I'm doing here, after a positive result, you look for those intangibles. But there were just a couple of occasions. The fact that the penalty itself came from chasing down lost causes, and there were a couple of Bradford attacks that were thwarted by just good last-ditch defending. It feels like Andy Crosby is getting this team playing for him at the very least.
We can probably combine this one with Carlisle 1, Wimbledon 2, which also had significance at the top and bottom. Significant for Wimbledon in that they, again, jump over Doncaster and go 3rd in the league table with this win. The only team in the top 5 to win on Saturday. And again, for them, bouncing back, thank goodness, from what was a really disappointing home defeat against Cheltenham in midweek. Crazy to think that if they'd seen off Cheltenham as they have done so consistently at home this season, they'd be sitting above Bradford on goal difference in 2nd spot and only 3 points behind Walsall. But they didn't. So to go ahead so early against Carlisle, I think was significant. Callum Maycock back in the side, back from injury and getting a start here. Just getting on the ball, just inside the box, turning, just posting a lovely little left footer right into the top corner. It's such a precise top corner finish. It was one of those... You wonder why players don't do that more often. Just looks really easy when Maycock does it like that. 1-0 to Wimbledon became 2-0 in the second half. Neufville crossing to Smith. So Wimbledon getting 2 goals from their number 8s, which is huge for them. Jackson sometimes always goes with 2 up top, invariably Bugle and Stevens. He always goes with Jake Reeves, Nally Smith in midfield. The identity of the other one, whether it's another striker in Josh Kelly going for kind of an old school front three, whether it's Marcus Brown increasingly over the last few weeks since he joined as a kind of free role roaming number 10, or whether it's just another quite physical central midfielder with goal threat in Maycock, as it was here. He made the right choice. There's absolutely no doubt about that. For Carlisle, it's so disappointing, George. I was starting to believe big time after watching them beat Barrow on a Thursday night a couple of weeks ago, but it's just 1 point from 3 games since then. And they're now 9 points behind Tranmere after Tranmere's uptick in form. They're 13 behind Harrogate and Accrington. And I think the fat lady is, well, she's not singing, that's for sure, but she's warming up her voice, I think it's fair to say. Can we say the same for Morecambe? Again, this just feels so damaging, being 2-0 up at home to Barrow and not getting 3 points and having so many moments of individual mistakes contributing to another game where Morecambe play fine, are up against it, down to 10 men, do so well from that point, but don't win the game.
Yeah. Have you seen the red card incident?
Yes.
Do you know what he did? Because it's quite a weird one.
It is a weird one. He's been sent off for violent conduct, essentially for what they think is an elbow to the face of the attacker that's kind of flicked the ball around to him. I think if you're being generous to Taylor, you'd say that the striker's like nipped it past him and he's moved his body across to try and, instinctively to move towards the ball, and he's basically smashed the guy with his, I don't know what part of his body. The referee has thought, or one of his, I think it might have been the fourth official actually, basically said, no, he's basically thrown an arm into the face there.
I just kind of wondered if it was something after that, because there seems to be like a bit of a tangle of the hand and the body, and I wondered if they was perceived to have done anything more. But I didn't know. That's what I was asking. But yeah, I mean, either way, it's hard to tell from our angle what actually happens. But I mean, I agree. I mean, this is one of those games where Barrow fans are going to be left wondering how they haven't won it, despite being 2-0 down against 10 men, because they created absolutely loads within the game. But understandably, also Morecambe, with only 4 shots and 2 on target, are going to feel like they have massively let themselves down by not converting their winning position. Graham Edwards put Morecambe through early on in the game before the sending off with a very rare foray forward just before half time. Lee Angle had a shot deflected into the back of the net to make it 2-0. But the biggest moment in this game was just after half time when Barrow were caught in possession and Andy Dallas and Lee Angle raced through on goal together with Dallas in possession and Angle just to his right hand side, and Dallas could have just, Angle was behind him, he could have rolled the ball through to Angle and he'd have been able to have an open goal. And rather than do that, he's tried to round the keeper. He's tried to round the keeper like in front of where his teammate is running into. So it's just a completely pointless move from him. And he enables Farman to come out and smother and prevent him from even getting a shot away. And that was, it would have been very easy to make it 3-0 from there. Instead, they weren't able to capitalise on it. And Barrow scored 2 goals through Robbie Gotts and Tyler Smith. Yes, they didn't get the third to win it, but in the situation that Morecambe are in, a draw here is almost as damaging as a defeat, really. And, despite the red card, which obviously didn't help them, this was still an opportunity for them to get the 3 points from the position they were in, and they didn't take it. So, yeah, with Tranmere getting the result that they got, it feels like we're getting to the stage where this League 2 relegation battle is nearing a completion relatively early on in the season.
It's certainly not the case at the top of the table, in part because, the fact that only one team in the top 5 won. Just look at the general form of Walsall, of Wimbledon, Doncaster, Notts, Vale, Crewe. You do sometimes wonder, like, who wants this? Who's going to go and grab this? At the top of the table, we saw Walsall drawing at Bromley on Thursday night. Not a terrible result on paper, to be honest, and they came from behind twice. Bromley scoring 2 absolute crackers. Ben Thompson from outside the box putting them ahead before Amanci got on the end of a long throw and fired in. And then Harry McCurdy's back in the EFL and scoring EFL goals. A lovely goal it was too, running onto a ball over the top from Michael Cheek, lobbing the keeper first time. He was already celebrating doing the Cole Palmer before it hit the net, which felt very Harry McCurdy. His obsession with Chelsea FC is easily the strongest EFL player fandom I can think of. And it was very Harry McCurdy to be giving it the Cole Palmer before the ball even hit the net. He then did his his own trademark Super Soaker celebration in the corner, which we like as well. But Walsall scored 2 very Walsall goals to get a point. The first one, as mentioned, from a long throw, good physicality from Amanchi, and then a really nice turn of shot. And then it was wing-back crossing in for the second goal, something they've done really well this season, particularly down the right side, and that's where it came from, with Jamil Matt scoring the equaliser. Donny drew 1-1 with Crewe. Not sure if which of these teams thinks this is a good point or a disappointing result. I mean, Crewe had a good first half and were ahead through O'Riordan. Again, he's on the score sheet. Doncaster much stronger in the second half, scored a nice equaliser headed by Owen Bailey, hit the post through Ennis, went closest to winning the game, and to my eyes should have had a penalty cross from the right, and Connor Thomas with, I think, basically bringing down the Doncaster attacker before he was able to get his shot off. Not given, and Grant McCann very unhappy about that one, and a 1-1 draw in what was quite a spicy one, with the playoff semi-final from last season fresh in the memory as well. And then there's Notts County, George, who, I mean, 1 win in their last 5. This time it was a home defeat to Chesterfield.
Yeah, Chesterfield, who have struggled for form in recent weeks and looked to have very little to play for. It looked like Notts County had turned it around in midweek. They went to a buoyant Grimsby side trying to get into the playoffs and beat them 2-0 at Blundell Park, which you'd have thought would be the kind of turning point that would lead to them kind of kicking on, but it wasn't to be. Notts County pretty poor on the day, you have to say, not creating a great deal. Ben Pebble continued his really good goal scoring form. He looks like a live one for next season. Really interested to see where he ends up. Possibly could be leading the line for his parent club Luton if they get relegated to League One. You might think one of those. He looks like a real between the posts striker who has a real knack for finding, getting the end of balls, and a proper goal scorer's instinct. He got the opening goal before Will Jarber scored from distance to make it 1-1. And then Tom Naylor with a sucker punch late on in the game. Notts County, the latest of these teams towards the top end of League Two, that just cannot get a consistent run of form going now to really cement their place towards the top end, and that are letting other teams beneath them in. So, yeah, a huge opportunity missed for them. Chesterfield showing some signs of life after I think you and I suggested they may be beach bound.
Yeah, no signs of life for MK Dons. They got thrashed 3-0 by Port Vale. Didn't help themselves when giving the ball away after 25 minutes or so. It was Lawrence with that mistake, finished off nicely by Laurent Talai 1-1. And then Port Vale just ran all over them. And Ronan Curtis came to the fore. Brilliant cross for Stock. Just a joke of an in-swinging cross from the left side from Curtis for Stockley to finish. If you've got Stockley in the middle and you've got delivery like that, it's just impossible to defend, really. And a nice assist on the break to set up Garrity, who lifted it beautifully over the goalkeeper to make it 3-0 in injury time. So I think, they lost to Colchester in midweek, Port Vale. Colchester getting closer and closer to them. It was 3 draws before then. I think it's fair to say they really needed this, and it's probably their easiest game, their biggest win, most comfortable performance and win for a long time. I think they really need it, and I'm looking forward to seeing them gain the confidence that this gives them. Having said that, such has been the form and performance level and just general quality and character of MK Dons recently, I'm not sure how impressive a win it actually is on paper, even if they are a big name for the level. Good news for Vale is they've got 2 home games coming up, Morecambe on Saturday and then Barrow at home in midweek. So, Vale, still massive players in this automatic promotion race. If they can string together a run, which they did earlier in the season, I so rarely am convinced by their performance level, aside from this game where they really were excellent. I wasn't surprised to see them winless in 4 before this game, but they're still massively in this. And a win against Morecambe, followed up by a win against Barrow, will have them, possibly in the automatic promotion places come next midweek. Grimsby 0, Salford 1. Pretty damaging this one for Grimsby, George, and their playoff push.
Horror week for Grimsby. Having gone to Walsall and beaten them 3-1, put themselves in 7th spot in the playoff places with 2 home games in a week against Notts County and Salford. To pick up 0 points and score 0 goals, it's pretty unforgivable given where they were. This was a really scrappy game, not much quality, decided by just an incredibly scrappy goal from a set piece. I don't really understand what happens. The ball is put in, and I think it's like a deflected header that kind of sails over the keeper and into the far corner. And that's the decisive moment within the game. This is a Salford side who, coming into this, had only won one game since late January, hadn't won since early February, whose season itself had really petered out, having looked like automatic promotion challenges, then playoff challenges, and now set to finish mid-table. So really frustrating from Grimsby's perspective. This was a huge opportunity, and they've, as of many teams done in League Two, they've dropped the ball, but they're still in with a chance. They're still sitting just outside the playoffs again because so many teams around them are not winning points.
They'd have been in the playoffs if they'd finished their chances in this one. Really profligate in front of goal, frustrating for them. Elsewhere, Newport beat Harrogate 3-0, 3 goals all from corners, 2 pretty much direct, and then 1 from the second phase. Cameron Evans early on, then Courtney Baker-Richardson, and then James Clark. It's a team that continues to confuddle, given that this is a super comfy home win, 3-0 in front of their home fans after a 5-0 defeat to Accrington Stanley in midweek. I like Newport. I don't understand them, but I like them. I can't pretend that I don't. It also means that they've beaten 7 of the 8 teams beneath them in the league table. The only team they haven't beaten at home, I should say, the only team they haven't beaten at home is Tranmere, because they haven't played them yet. One of the nuttiest teams around. Then we had a couple of fairly entertaining draws. Swindon 3, Cheltenham 3. Fun game, as they tend to be between these two teams. The last 4 league meetings between them have been 3-2, 2-2, 3-2 and 3-3. Cheltenham 1-0 up and 3-1 up here at Swindon, but not being able to see it out. Swindon kept coming back. The equaliser from Ollie Clark, who's just such an incredible leader for them. And Ian Holloway, I just love how, some managers don't like praising players too much. I don't know, they don't want them to get too big for their boots, or they don't want to be seen to be gassing up players, too far above others in the team. Ian Holloway doesn't mind about that, particularly when he's talking about Ollie Clark, who, is basically, he wants to be his adopted son at this point. He says, have you seen our stats for when he's playing and when he isn't? He is our Rodri. This is what I've been saying. The effect you can have on other people is quite amazing with how brave you are, and he's so ruthless in every challenge. He wants to win it, and I've never seen anyone quite like it. It's not the words that he uses, it's the movements that he makes, and everybody else takes strength off of that. You can become stronger by playing next to Roy Keane, and Ollie is that sort of presence. Great quotes from Holloway, as normal. Accrington 1, Gillingham 1. John Coleman back at Aki and getting a sweet injury time equaliser to deny them victory. Ben Ward had Aki in front, but quite a smart little set-piece routine where Gills were lining up a free kick 25 yards out. Accrington with a lot of men in the wall, and Max Clark, the Gills left-back, just lingering on the left edge of the box. The ball was passed out to him. Aimer gets a block in, so no one can close down Clark, and he just absolutely lashes it into the roof of the net. Cue scenes in the Aki away end, those Gills fans. Busy week in League Two, entertaining week in League Two. We got a decent amount of games next Saturday as well. Next Monday is going to be the annual Welcome to the Run-In NTT20 podcast. We'll be analysing the top playoffs and the bottom of all 3 EFL leagues. So make sure that you join us for that podcast. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and go well.